everybody, Diana here. It is Sunday, the 11th of June, and Dave and I are at the National Quilt Museum. So see, I've got my little membership card here. We're about 2 minutes before the museum opens. Then we're going to go inside, and I will continue to do some actual video. And if I can post the raw video, I will, and then I might post segments in our weekly videos or in a vlog. So we can kind of consider this a vlog post, okay? So I hope everybody's having a great day, and let's go on a trip through the National Quilt Museum. Okay, everybody, we're still just a few minutes from going in, but I wanted to show you this beautiful sign outside the museum that looks like a quilt, obviously. Isn't it beautiful? And you know that when we get inside, we're going to see even more beautiful quilts. And there is a sign here. Let's see what this says. It says Western Kentucky Quilt Trail, the National Quilt Museum quilt image. This is called Limelight by Philippa Naylor. GPS coordinates, it gives you those on here. I won't read them out. She explains that I consider myself to be a contemporary quilter rather than an art quilter, so that's interesting to know. My quilts are very much a modern interpretation of traditional quilts of the 19th and 20th centuries. Inspiration often comes directly from a traditional quilt design, which she has updated using bright dyed fabrics, by curving the seams, and then by stitching the layers together by machine with free-flowing patterns. Limelight was inspired by the traditional New York beauty block. So we'll look that block up, and maybe we'll talk about that in another video. The New York beauty block, made over a period of 6 months and took several hundred hours to complete. Yes, I bet it did. And there's more to talk about, but we'll show you a close-up there. That's probably the block. Yep, so that's the traditional New York beauty block. And then now let's back up and we can look at this once again. And you can kind of see how she stylized this quilt with that information. So we're going to walk around to the front of the building now, because we're technically on the side, and get ready to go in. Let's go.
That might be a little part.
Okay, everybody. Ooh, someone's going in. I just wanted to show you the front of the building. It's quite lovely. And of course the flag. And they have this lovely little courtyard. They have benches and all where you can sit. They have a statuary and all out here for something, which we'll go check later. But there's all this green area. And then if you'll notice here, there are all these beautiful stained glass windows and all along the side, which are quite lovely. So we're going to go in now. Okay, everybody, again, we're still not in yet because there's so much to see just on the outside of the museum. This little stone you see, this is a time capsule that they put in place in April of '93, and they will unearth it on April 23rd of 2043, which if you think about it, is only 20 years from now. So it says, honoring today's quilter through time, courtesy of Roth Funeral Chapel and Wilbert Vault Company of Paducah. So those were the folks who probably created the stone and all. So I bet you in 2043 we'll have a big opening and all. Maybe if Dave and I are still in this area, we'll come down for it. Alrighty. Hi folks, I'm inside the Quilt Museum now, and this young lady has helped check us in. Hi, and your name again? Legan, thank you so much for your help today, and we'll see you on the way out to grab a t-shirt. Ladies and gentlemen, we've just entered the museum. Literally, this is the first quilt that we're seeing, but I'm just going to tell you, if you've never been here before, my video is not going to do it justice, because oh my goodness, look at how beautiful this is, this Christmas quilt. I'm just going to pan around a little bit. It's very dimensional. Lots of embroider type things on it. That was done probably in the hoop to get some of this on here, unless somebody did them by hand. And that could be. I'm going to check over here on the wall because it's going to tell us. But isn't this absolutely lovely? And I'm just going to tell you, look at this edging outside of the binding. Is that not the most spectacular edging on a quilt you've ever seen? So this is, I'm just going to kind of pan it this way while I read. This is Merry Christmas 2020. And I need my glasses because I'm blind. This traditional Christmas quilt that took the artist over a year to make. Each section of the quilt is crafted with intense detail, and the artist takes care to portray a telling of an experience of Christmas. So it doesn't say, but I'm guessing stuff like this three-dimensional was partially done with embroidery. Of course, I'm not going to touch it now. A lot of this looks hand embroidered as well. But oh my goodness, it is just spectacular. Here we have a little snow globe, a pond where people are skating. It's just tremendous. And then if I just turn right, oh my goodness, isn't it just wonderful? Just so beautiful. You can see why these take years to do, and they're incredible. And really, the quilting on them is so intense. To be honest, ladies and gentlemen, I don't recommend this kind of finished quilting for our everyday quilts, but if you want to do a big, beautiful art piece for your home or for a local gallery or something like that, I would say put your time and energy into something like this because it's a spectacular work of art that's going to be around forever. We're going to move on now. So folks, we're in part of the gallery now that is a lot of miniature quilts. And I'm not going to show you each and every one. I will take some pictures because they have little QRS codes where you can learn more about them. But I want to get really close up on here and show you the micro stippling that went into this one. Isn't that incredible? What a little work of art. That's a small quilt, but I bet it took longer to take than some of my bigger quilts because that really is a work of art. And let's look at this little crazy quilt here. In fact, we're going to be doing some crazy quilts on our machine later in the year or next year. I haven't decided yet, but this is such a fun process. But this is all by hand by Elaine Braun, called Just a Little Crazy, from 2012. And isn't that pretty? Look at all of that stitching. Really beautiful. So I'll just pan around. Well, let's see these. Truly, truly miniatures, aren't they? Actual quilts, everybody, not panels, real quilts. Isn't it? I mean, a panel quilt is a real quilt, but these aren't panels that were like stitched over. These are pieced this way. Incredible. Look at the star down here. Isn't it amazing? So I'll just pan around a little bit so you can see these miniatures. I'm hoping to have a real surprise for you all later as we go through because Dave, you want to wave to folks?
Hello, everybody.
Dave's cousin, Margaret Crecilius Williams, she actually lives in Georgia, but she is from Paducah, and she is an art quilter, and she's had some of the most beautiful art quilts, and she's had some of them here in the museum, so I hope to be able to show them to you. What a beautiful miniature double wedding ring. I have a full-size double wedding ring, and I'm telling you, this took longer to do, I'm sure. Look at how small that piecing is. Alrighty, so that is our little miniature area here. Love that, the Hawaiian quilt, beautiful. All right, this could be hours, but I'm trying to keep this short for us. So let's move on to another area. So folks, here is the actual quilt that we were looking at, the sign outside. This is the actual quilt. Isn't it just the colors? I know my phone's getting them, but I'm telling you, the colors are so vibrant. They're really beautiful. Look at the piping next to the binding. Isn't that beautiful? How many of you would do this or work on a project like this? I'd love to know, because this is definitely a piece of art that would be beautifully done for a community place where so many people could see it. And here is the sign. And Dave is going to take this QRS code so I can tell us even more about it when we get home. And then this is the one that hangs to the side of it. Another one just full of beautiful color. This one is called I Heart Summer. You can see why. Very beautiful, vibrant colors, very that sun, those sunny colors. Okay, we'll keep moving on. So we are now in the larger than life part of the gallery, dedicated to an artist, Velda Newman. And Velda Newman says chartreuse is her neutral. I like that. Never let anyone tell you that neutral has to be white, black, gray, or beige. Any color you love. You all know that I love that light minty aqua. That's my neutral. So what's your neutral? Let us know in the comments. But this says Velda Newman is a contemporary quilt maker and fiber artist from Nevada City, California. Her large-scale designs portraying subjects from nature have been exhibited extensively throughout the United States, Europe, Australia, and Japan. She uses textiles and threads the way other artists use paint and brushes. Her primary source of inspiration is the natural world, and her exquisitely crafted quilts reflect the detail and design she finds there. Now, I'm just going to pan a little bit because there's no way you can get one of these. Look at these. Aren't they incredible? This one is Wings 2. The other side of the gallery has Wings 1. I'll get a close-up. You can definitely see she loves chartreuse. The detail. Look at the detail of her butterflies. Incredible. So again, folks, I'm going to tell you, if you can ever get to Paducah, please come and see the National Quilt Museum. Please become a member of the National Quilt Museum. It's not expensive, and that allows you to get into the museum with a guest for free. This next one's called Roses by Velda Newman. This whole entire gallery is based on her work, but you can get in free with your membership, and I think you could just sit in here in this gallery alone, or in the miniature gallery alone, and be inspired by color and design and texture, and really take your quilts that you might think aren't worthy of being in a quilt museum. I think any quilt is worthy of a museum, but you can get inspired for your own quilts, and nobody's saying to you, you have to be a Velda Newman, although you could be if you wanted to be, because I know how completely artistic and talented you all are. Look at this. Amazing. So do try to plan a trip at least once to come and see this gallery. Now, there is something, or this museum, there is something I love. A lot of her flowers have a very three-dimensional part to the centers. Very pretty. But the color here is just so incredible. I think even more vibrant than what you would see in nature. And here is this one called Foxglove. Sorry, I was a little bit far away. Foxglove. Oh, sure, because there's the foxglove. Very pretty. Now, we're going to get away from flowers for a moment and see another one that she's done over here. And this is more nature in respect to birds and wildlife. Isn't that pretty? A whole different color palette than what we've been seeing so far. Blues, grays, whites, tans, taupes, yellows, oranges, just really the true beautiful colors that you would see in these birds in nature. And let's look at the quilting up close on this one. Isn't that incredible? And you know, when I judge quilts every year, I always judge binding and corners. And see, you don't have to do your mitered corners on your binding. She certainly hasn't done that here, and it looks beautiful. So don't let anyone tell you you only can do a mitered corner on your binding. And I will tell you, all of these quilts are feet long. You can see as I pan here, they're just feet and feet long. Now, if I turn around, we're going to see this one, which is seashells. We'll see what it's actually called. It's called seashells. Imagine that. But look, again, when we see shells, we typically see them in kind of dulled colors, but under the water, they can be quite vibrant. And so we have these light mocha colors, the yellowish colors, the oranges, the browns, again, the grays, the taupes, even the soft green hues in here, even some soft purples here in this particular shell. Just blended exquisitely. I mean, when you say you're going to a quilt museum, sometimes people say, oh, quilts. This is just, let's just say it, this is coming to an art museum, okay, because these are true works of art. And then as we go around, we're going to see more lovely, big, beautiful flowers, but we're going to save some more of our video time for another gallery. Okay, everybody, we're part of a gallery now dedicated to the works of Diana S. Fox. And she says here, through the exploration of cloth as my medium of choice, abstraction, shape, and the use of color are primary components repeated through the work. Her approach is improvisational and organic, and she's stimulated by spirituality, nature, and world events. This exhibition is called The Gifts from the Universe, and she began quilting only in 1983. So it doesn't matter how long or how short of a time you've been quilting. She transitioned into art quilts in 2007. As a textile, listen to this, as a textile sculptress, Diana prefers to dye much of her own fabric for her creations. Isn't that fantastic? She is a member of an invitational art quilt group, Four Common Corners. She currently resides in Parker, Colorado, with her life partner, 2 rescue dogs, Dolly and Lewis, and 2 fat cats. I love that. Now I'm going to show you this one. This is called Tree Rings number 4. Have you ever seen tree rings that look that amazing? Isn't it beautiful? Let's look at close at some of the different colors in the way. So these are all individual circles that she's done, and then she has put them together into this one large piece. And look on this one how she's put in the cracks in the rings, the cracks in the wood. Truly inspirational. I know a lot of you have been doing the rounded rope baskets and stuff. Although not that, with the quilting it kind of has that general idea. What if you took and did something like that with fabric? I bet all of you could try it, at least on a small piece, right? You could do it. Might not look like Diana Fox's, but you could do it, I'm sure. And we'll show you a couple others, because in this one, called Geode Cache number 1, look at how bright those are. Now, geodes, you know, usually have beautiful colors in them, and she certainly gathered that expression in these. Okay, we're going to move on now. One more by Diana S. Fox called Sunflowers. Of course, look at these. And look at how she's used thread color on basically a solid fabric color here on the outer. So these flowers are full of color, and she's used her thread to do that. She's used different type of quilting. Here we see some beautiful pebbles. So really a lot of this work has been done with her threads. And that's why I tell you, save your beautiful colored threads for your quilting rather than for your piecing. Because you can really create a whole other layer to your designs when you use your thread that way. Alrighty, now let's move on. Okay, guys, here's one it's another one by Diana S. Fox. It's called Coral Reef. And I want to show it to you. One, it's amazingly beautiful, right? It's probably 3 foot by 4 foot maybe. But what I want to show you on this, because it's one of the few times we get to see it, here's all the quilting on the front of these. But I want to go around to the back of this, because this gives us a chance to see the back of a quilt. And look at how amazing it looks. It's obviously slightly different. You get a more muted color back here because of her backing color and all, but you get to see these threads in more detail. And how it just makes a whole different expression of color and design on the back of these. So tell me, would you show the back as the front? I think I would for sure. maybe the darker side in the fall and winter, and that front brighter side in the summer and spring. Okay, everybody, we're in the gallery to fill a field. Justin Ming Wong is the artist. This was sponsored by the Toronto Arts Council and funded by the City of Toronto. So to our neighbors in the north, thank you for sharing this beautiful exhibit with us. I want to show you a specific one here. 2 colors, basically, right? Very stylized, very artistic. But I want to read you what this says. This is called wishy-washy. And you can kind of see that with the way things curve and undulate, right? But it's made from scrap satin, polyester batting, scrap nylon, and thread. And now I know a lot of times these are not fabrics or materials we think about for our quilts, but this has made a beautiful art piece. And if this was bigger, it could be beautiful on a bed as well. So maybe if you have those kinds of scraps laying around, you have old polyester batting that you don't use in your regular bed quilts and things, you could think about doing them. And of course I can't show you the back, but let's look at the binding, how it curves even. So the whole quilt is done with a curvature to the outline. So that's this hanging the way it is, and I love the name of it, wishy-washy. But then right over here next to it, this quilt is called Cooped Up, Boxed In, and this is definitely pieced. You can see the quilting fabrics, and look guys, all of our new quilters, guess what those are? That's right, half square triangles. All of these in the center of this quilt are half square triangles. So I know all of you new quilters can do things like this, right? Not difficult. And then larger pieced sections around the border of that center section. Very interesting use of colors again. And the one thing I love about this, here we have this little ditzy print, and then we have all of these solids because they were done with probably scraps of fabric. So don't be afraid to play with things and put it in there. Remember, with color, if it is pleasing to your eye, then go with it. Don't always trap yourself into a box, like this quilt says, regarding color and color theory, okay? All right, now we'll move on. So folks, this is another Justin Ming Wong quilt. It's called Subdivisions. And I'm going to try to get back. I want to get it a little bit more because I want you to take a very specific look at this quilt. We've been doing a lot of block of the months that are done as large independent blocks. And these blocks are obviously larger a little bit than ours. They're probably, some of these sections 24 by 24, maybe a little larger. But look, they're done in big sections and put together. And so you can make really beautiful quilts with your larger blocks. And look, the top and the bottom are completely different. The edges, everything are completely different from what we've seen. Even the binding on this quilt is not the same color all the way around. He has a different color here to here to here, moves around the top, and it's even different coloring on your binding here. So maybe if you are making your quilt and you don't have enough of your fabric, maybe you miscalculated or couldn't decide, don't be afraid to use different materials from the leftovers in your quilting or your piecing to make your binding, because it looks beautiful that way. This quilt, you would think with all the different colors and things like that, you wouldn't draw your eye to one place, but really I'm finding that my eye is drawn to this top section and then to this bottom section. So play around with how you place those large blocks in your quilts too. Okay, one more Justin Ming Wong for us. This one's called Landslide. Can I get back far enough? You can see it's hanging from the ceiling and it goes way down. Guys, let me just read you this description. It's scrap cotton, scrap denim, and thread. So let's look close to the bottom here. Can you see that he has a background fabric that is that scrap denim? And he has sewn his scrap cotton strips to it. Now, if you are someone that likes a more modern aesthetic, this is incredibly beautiful. Lots of solids, but again, occasionally you see prints in here. Seems to be a theme with this gentleman, and he signed this one. So that definitely is a quilt label in my book. So don't be afraid to try different fabrics and to keep your scraps. We've been talking a lot about scrappy fabrics lately. Keep them because you can do really beautiful artistic pieces with them. Okay, everybody, we're now in a